Hey, morning adventurers. This is the entrance to what is properly known as the Dural Valley National Park or Quarry Track, but locally everyone here calls it Quarry Road. So if you're wanting some local trail running experiences, especially in the northwest of Sydney or the north of Sydney, Quarry Road is the main one that most people head to. So what I'm going to do this morning is just take you out and give you an experience of what it looks like, what the trails are like, so that anyone who hasn't been here before, who isn't sure of what it's like here, can enjoy this trail because it's really, really good. This is a location that many people in northwestern Sydney use as their main way to properly train up for something like UTA out at Katoomba without having to take the time to drive out there. So really good trail, lots of fire trail, and yeah, give you a run through this morning. Alright, so this is just the first 150 meters in to the track, but what you can see, it's a good example of what most of the start of the track is like. It's just a really sandy base. It's been compacted a few years ago. There was a lot of damage in storms about 3 years ago, so it's quite compacted, quite solid underfoot. If you want to head over to the side, you can have a really easy soft run. Bit rockier in the middle. Just got to be mindful, lots of mountain bikers use these tracks as well, so try to stay left. Hey, so as you can see, just more flat fire trail, really sandy down on the side, still really rocky in the center. You've got a lot of different options out here at Quarry Road. This is probably a good example of that. So this juncture here, let me come up close on this side. Okay, so you've got the overall track. Now I'm going to head off to the left towards the rifle range. There's Pogson's tree trail and fish ponds. That's if you just go down to the right. So when you see this juncture, the right will take you to Pogson's, and the left, yeah, we're going to go towards Quarry Road and Dural. Right, we've come from there, but we're going to stay on the Quarry Road loop. Okay, let's go. So as you can see, still super sandy, nice open fire trail, a couple of small undulations, but really consider it flat up until this point, and just at the 1K mark now. So yeah, first K, pretty flat, only the one turn. If you're staying on the Quarry Road loop, remember just take the left instead of the right down to fish ponds. But other than that, yeah, very flat, sandy, a little rocky, but yeah, pretty easy trail to this point. And then we start to get a few undulations in the next couple hundred meters, mostly downhill. I know cameras are never a good way to get perspective on this, especially film if you're down at person level. But yeah, this is the downhill that I was talking about now. So we start the descent down towards the river. Just sandy, loose stones, pretty small. So nice and easy. You're just over a K in at this point. This section's really well shaded, so it's pretty cool. It's fun. If you do come across any closed gates like this one, don't stress. They only open those for the fire trucks, I think, when they're managing the trail. But as you can see too clearly, mark lines, everyone's cool with you walking or running through, so don't worry about those, just proceed on. At the moment it's exactly 1.5 Ks. In the background, you may not be able to quite hear it from here, but you can hear the gunfire from the rifle range over on the other side of the valley, so we'll talk about that when we get to that side. All right. I think you will notice that roughly 2 Ks in, as you get to the parts that become a little undulating, it's certainly not hills if you're thinking in trail terms. The only difference you really see in the texture of the track is it's pretty much stony right the way across because all the sand has been washed down from storms. What you will see is sand wash down natural kind of waterways like that. So it's just that loose sand that's been placed on top is gone, and what you'll be dealing with just this really pebbly rock and stone, which is fairly compacted. There's a lot of loose rocks on the top, but nothing to stress about. And then once again, yeah, flattens out. You see, nice flat, smoother sand's back. Yeah, we'll just point out this area. It's 2.3 k's in to the track from the Quarry Road entrance. Now, just see a lot of rocks have been dumped there, blocking that path. There is a path behind there. So that's just off the track. What you want to do, so don't try to head down there. Stick on this track. So bend to the right at 2.3 k's and continue down. We'll come to a fence in about 100 meters or so. That track back there, just out of curiosity, I followed it a couple of times. It puts you up on top of a rocky outcrop, which you're going to see from the below later on. A lot of tree falls, not just there, but further on as well. So yeah, if you want to ever head down that way, you can, but be prepared to do a lot of bush bashing. It's not really runnable, and the rocks are there for a reason, just for your safety as well, because yeah, the tree falls haven't been cleared properly. My gut feeling is I strongly suspect there's probably some Aboriginal sites down there as well from what I've seen. So I think it's also out of respect to that too. So yeah, cool. So coming down to another gate, as with the other ones, nice easy path around either side of the gate. So this is about 2.4 k's in. So just when you get to this gate, just continue on and you'll really start to feel the descent now as we begin to head down to the creek. All right, so 2.6 k's in, you are going to have just come down a sandy and slightly rockier hill, and then you hit this. So what we've got is concrete that's been poured. It's got these lines and grooves across it. I think it's probably partially for traction, and I've always wondered if it's also so that the thing doesn't get washed away in storms, especially when you look at the depth of the gutter that has been built to the side. So this is pretty steep, but the fun part is what goes up must come down, what goes down must come up. So it's later on when you're going to come back up this if you're doing the loop, but most people have fun. 2.7 k's into the trail, you come down and to this location which is called Tunks Ridge Campground. So just zoom in on it there. So it's a nice flat area. People actually do come here and camp. There's two options. There's that track there, which will actually take you up further to the north. But you've been on this ridged road, so just stick on this, and this will come round so that you'll come to the east side of the campground. Either way, it's kind of like a loop around the campground. So if you do accidentally take the wrong turn, just come there. If you stay straight, that's the easiest way. So straight down the hill with all the ridge concrete, come round, hit the campground on your left, and you will be staying on the track. Once again, you probably can really hear the rifle range starting to get going now. It's a Sunday morning here, so I imagine a lot of the recreational shooters get out and practice first thing of the day. Yeah. All right, cool. So at the end of Tunks Ridge, you just see that's the other loop. Just come to the right and you're cool. So there's Tunks Ridge. There, the campground. Just come down. And yeah, continue on down, and just a slower, softer descent after that ridged area. Just hit the 3k mark now on Quarry Road. Coming down, this is another concreted path. It does have some of those kind of lines across it, but not like the other section as well. It's not as steep, so a little bit of concrete, and that basically just is down this incline again. I suspect it's there in case of bushfires, so that this part of the road doesn't get washed away if the CFA needs to get in an emergency. 3.4 k's into Quarry Road loop. We've got a lot of pebbles, bang, straight into the ridge concrete again. So I think you probably picked the pattern up here. Every time you see this, okay, it's nice and solid underfoot, although you do have to be careful. You can see how they're unevenly spaced. Easily, if you're not picking your feet up, to trip over the larger ones because they do jut out a bit more. But yeah, I think you've grabbed the pattern here that every time you see these, it's a steep descent if you're heading this way. When you're on the way back, it's a steep ascent. So these are the sections where you see people definitely putting their hands down on their knees and really hooking in as they start the climb. Come off the concrete, just back up there, there's some awesome rock formations here. It's so easy to get focused on the track that you don't take some of this really cool stuff in. Pretty steep drop off to the left, the river's down the bottom. And here you get a sense if they didn't have all that concrete. I imagine this is what most of the track would look like, just these kind of like golf ball sized pebbles everywhere, because all the looser stuff gets washed away, all the sandier ground. It's really sandy out here, there's not a lot of soil. You're not in the track anyway, and very dry out there. So lots of rocks coming down, fairly steep descent. We're getting much closer to the river now. You can just kind of hear it in the background. River's again just off to our left, so we'll be coming up to Steel Bridge soon, and most people kind of consider that the halfway point. Now, coming down to the trail, obviously great for fitness, awesome if you love trail, but like seriously, this is just such a cool trail. This is so pretty. Somehow this tree virtually defies gravity. It always amazes me. Got kind of like on a fairly significant descent here. There's a lot of overhangs, old like caves stuck up on this hill. You can see one there. But yeah, this tree's right on the edge of it. And coming out, there's a really other cool thing here too. You've got some very obvious scarring that's occurred or been done here, so here. So whether or not that's traditional Aboriginal scarring and was used to make a bark shield, it's possible. It's possible. I'm just not sure if it's that old, but in saying that, this tree does look old. So yeah, really some of the other cool stuff, which if you're charging around is easy to miss, but it's very cool. You can probably see that the environment is changing quite a lot. There's a lot of overhangs, probably caves up there, but it's really green. We've got a lot of ferns. Down here, down to the left, you can just hear the river. Yep, hopefully you can pick that up in the audio. We'll be there soon. But they've cut this track right along this point. It doesn't look like they've had to do too much work to the rock face to do it. So I think this is relatively natural here and just created a good point to pop the fire trail in. But yeah, you've got a completely different environment. It's really green. It's almost rainforest like down here, and all these big boulder faces and rocky overhangs, which just look really cool. This is always one of my favorites to look up here. I love this one. Yeah, it's just awesome, isn't it? Some of the little signage that you see on the track, it's actually not a lot. So it's Great North Walk there, so that's actually where we've just come from. Galston Gorge is out that way too, if you take one of the other turns near the campground, and that's the sign of the campground. But yeah, this is the point that many people kind of consider halfway, even though it's not. So it's Steel Bridge. Okay, so which is pretty neat. So this is the bottom. So from this point, you're climbing, and then you get to the other end, over on the Hornsby side, and it's the same thing in reverse. Descent down to here, and then climbing. So let me just get a look at this while we're here. It's this really, really cool overhang. It's pretty shadowy here in the morning, so it's kind of hard to see, and the water all flows in there. It's not a lot of movement at the moment. If you're here at the right time though, there's some big fish in there. Carp I think mostly, but like some proper big fish that get down in there. But not else, you get a lot of water dragons on the side. I've seen goannas down there, like some pretty decent ones there. Fairly rare. I think where they tend to set up is not where a lot of humans get through, so it's just the other side of Steel Bridge. They're really cool. You see the water flowing out in that direction. And it's actually a really beautiful spot. Alright, so let's start the climb on the other side of steel bridge as we do that. Just come across here, some more signs that might be helpful for you to see. So again, Great North Walk, Dural Valley National Park, and you got this signage here. So Great North Walk, Sydney Coast, if you want to head all the way into Sydney, 40 k's, and then Thornley, 8 k's. But yeah, I'd say that'd be about right, and there's a whole lot of bush tracks that connect up as well if you know what you're doing, and you can get all the way to Sydney and really keep most of it off the roads. Alright, so here we are, we'll begin the descent. I'm not going to take you through all of this, but much the same except in reverse, in that it's going to be quite green, quite lush down the bottom, and then sandier, drier as we get further up, closer to the road on the Dural side, on the Hornsby side. As with any trail run bush track, you do see lots of cool things. I've always found this tree really interesting. All these sort of lumpy bulbs on it as well. You can definitely hear the rifle range in full effect now in the background. But yes, this is just up from Steel Bridge. Steel Bridge is literally just beyond that point. Okay, 4.7 k's away from Quarry Road at Dural, from that entrance point. We're just coming uphill now. This one's not too bad. Some really cool rock features at this point. A lot of loose stones underfoot. You're definitely feeling the climb, but it's not terrible. It's not a monster. And within the first couple 100 meters of getting away from Steel Bridge, you're already sensing that you're getting out of that kind of rainforest type forest, which is really all the way back there. And here it feels more like, you know, traditional Australian bush, drier, more sparse. The track itself is really kind of washed out, easy to follow. I'll point this out just for awareness. It's almost 5 k's from our start point, and there is this tiny little track that you'll see on your left as you're heading towards Hornsby. There it is there. I've seen other times where it's actually not as well defined as it is now, so it looks like it's getting used a bit more. And this is a route where you can jump onto the Great North Walk, but then it's also got your directions back to Galston Gorge as well. Yeah, during COVID, this area got pretty overgrown and was kind of difficult, but I'm imagining it's more passable. So yeah, roughly 4.9 k's into the course if you want to take a left here and have a detour and go and explore a different area. Otherwise, we continue on towards Hornsby. Okay, so coming up the climb now, so just over 5 k's in. Pretty rocky, pretty loose, a lot of pine needles on the ground in this area, so distinct difference in the vegetation. Yeah, we're just climbing up. But yeah, it feels very different on this side of the river in terms of vegetation, but track-wise, much the same, probably a bit rockier, I would say. I think they just put a lot more sand down on the other side, and I certainly know that close floods, I think they're around like 2020, 2021, they compacted heaps of dirt on the other side, so I think you can still see that with the amount of sand that's still there. Hey, we're 5.3 going on 5.4 k's into the trail. I'm just coming up the hill. You're going to see the sign here just behind me at the shooting range, which we've heard plenty of action from there. All right, so I think it's really just a matter, come through here, just got to be mindful. Everyone does. I'm sure, I assume it's set up in a way, I'm hopeful that the guys and girls on the firing line are cognizant of their fall of shot. But yeah, you'll hear these volleys of shot, probably when the whole serial's firing at once. So I think really my main bit of advice here, this is a section of the track, so 5.4 k's in, heading towards Hornsby. Don't get off the track. Stay on the marked track and you should be fine, but don't go off and potentially put yourself in the background of someone's fall shot. There you go. You can hear those rounds. You even hear the echo around the valley as well. So I guess a bit of a different experience. Takes me back to my days in the army, running out the back of Holsworthy Range. All right then, cool. Okay, so 5.75 k's into our trip. We are still heading towards Hornsby. Rifle range, still firing away. It's over to the right of you at this point. So this is about the closest that you actually come to it. By this point at 5.7, we've done most of the climbing actually out from Steel Bridge. So it's flattened out again. Still some undulating, dips and troughs to go. But yeah, if you're thinking, what have I got myself into? You're on the homeward stretch of finishing that first cross section, and most of the worst climbs of this part are behind you. Now it's not a lot. The steepest ones are within that first few hundred meters after you've left Steel Bridge. Just so here's the time to pan back, try and take in the view. Again, lots of really enormous and just beautiful rocky outcrops everywhere here, mostly on your right hand side when you're on this point of the track. Very difficult to capture on the film though, because with the Australian landscape everything kind of blends together unless you can get right back. So just past the 6k mark on the Quarry Road track, and we're doing the loop, and this sign over here, I would imagine, should be the other gate for the section where you got to be mindful for the firing club. So let's have a look. Yep, there we go. Okay, so just see that, so just be really mindful in that section. It's not long. If you don't feel safe, turn around. Simple as that. But yeah, I've never heard of anyone having any problems, but definitely I would encourage you more than anything, just stay on the track, particularly in that section. That way you won't get yourself or anyone else into trouble. All right, cool. Hey, and if you find yourself riding in green fields with the sun on your face, do not be alarmed. No, we don't need to quote Gladiator at this point, because you're not in Elysium. You're actually in Hornsby, probably Asquith to be more precise. So here's the far gate here for Quarry Road. So if you've left Dural at the start of your trip, from Dural to this gate right here, should be just about bang on 6.5. All right, so we're gonna head back, do the whole thing. So 6.5, so roughly if you do it all, you're looking at a 13k round trip, which I think is pretty good distance. Plenty of people do repeats. Generally they're going to do two laps. Most people, if they're training up for something, they'll do a couple of laps of Quarry Road. So think of it as 13 k's per loop. So you can easily get 26. You can start to take some of those turns, add little extra loops. But yeah, generally speaking, you're looking at 13 k's for the basic loop, the there and back, regardless of which side you start on. But when you think about that, there are plenty of folks too who will go as far as Steel Bridge, which makes a lot of sense, and then turn around, come back and just do loops of that section. That's fair if you want to manage it that way. I think the option when people do it like that is just if they want to have more water back at the car, if they're not wearing a vest, electrolytes, anything like that, they can head back to the start of the track, grab some supplies, go again. Some folks will come out at night to train, and that's perfectly cool as well. I think out here it's pretty safe. I haven't mentioned, because I haven't seen anything other than a couple of birds this morning, but you will see the occasional snake out here. They seem to be pretty rare compared to some of the other tracks here, but I think brown's mostly what you'll find if you do encounter any. Down near the water, you might see some water dragons. I've seen a goanna down there, which was a pretty good size in the past. But yeah, not a lot. occasionally off to the side, more so in the afternoon or the really early morning. You might see a couple of roos or wallaby, but yeah, not a lot coming up to the track. I think there's just too much good bush to need to come out and bother all these crazy runners disturbing everyone. So it's pretty safe out here. Say that as you hear the gunshots ring in the background, but honestly, yeah, it's pretty safe. If you're coming out on a Saturday or particularly a Sunday morning, the other big thing is that you're going to run into people like literally every 200 or 300 meters that you go. So if you're worried about your safety in that sense, there are a lot of people out on the tracks first thing in the morning, particularly the weekends. I would say Sunday is probably the busiest day, and in my experience I tend to see more people on the Dural side as well, so I feel like I'm constantly going past people when I'm heading out that way. So from Dural to Quarry Road, not as many on this side. I'm not sure why. I think because there's some other tracks that people probably take as well, like the Great North Walk on this side too. But yeah, it's a very cool place. So I'll just shoot a little bit of it on the way back, but yeah, hopefully you've seen most of it. So 7.3 k's into the trail now, so we're 800 meters on that return trip. Heading now back towards Dural. I think, as I might have said on the way out, I find this side of Steel Bridge just a little more rocky. Again, I think of sort of the management strategies they've probably tried to use to hold this fire trail together in the past. So yeah, a little bit more rocky on this side, more sandy on the other. And this is the shortest section in terms of its distance between the start point, so in this case Hornsby, back to or out to Steel Bridge. Alright, cool. But yeah, very pretty place. Can actually hear a few birds over the gunshots. This probably explains the lack of animals getting about once the firing range opens up in the morning. It's just kind of a cool shot down the hill. So heading down, 7.5 k's in, just some really nice undulating hills. I imagine the mountain bikers who come out here occasionally have a lot of fun with this section. So it's that same section, got a lot of pine needles on the ground, so it's a fairly different feel to this little section of forest. But you just come down, you go down like a little hill, just levels out for a sec, and then you do that again. So it's just several of these small dips. There we go, another one, and back over and down again. So it's good fun. It's really good fun coming downhill. And this brings us back to that other gate as well. So on your return, it is roughly 7.6 k's until you've cleared the firing range section. So see this gate here, there's one at either end just for you to be mindful of. See that sign and you're all good. Hey, I said I haven't seen too much wildlife around today. There is one kookaburra, just there. There he goes. There he goes, and I lost him and he's just headed up that way. There he is, there's a kookaburra up there just chilling in the tree. There he is. Such a beautiful bird. Heading back down towards Steel Bridge from the Hornsby Asquith side with Quarry Road loop. So pretty steep, pretty rocky here. Some places I think they're sort of like golf ball sized here. A lot of the stones I think are really not far off kind of cricket ball, tennis ball size. And unless I zoom right in, you won't really get a sense of that, but just be mindful of your footing as you're coming down. Really experienced trail runners just fly over this stuff, but if you're not so sure, just take your time on a slightly steeper loops, that's where it's rockiest as the sand has been washed away, and you'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, some much larger stones on this side of the track of Steel Bridge when you're coming down, just those short, sharp, steep sections. And then every time it flattens out, it smooths out as well, which you see right here. We've gone from that, just bang, nice and smooth, because the sand either washes down here or tends to stay in these areas, and it really does flatten it out nicely. And that should be the 8k mark right there as well. It's the 8.5k mark on the loop. So we're 2k's out from the Hornsby end, and we are back at Steel Bridge now. So back on that crossing, so this is the end of the descent section if you're coming from Hornsby, and if you're heading back towards Dural, let's cross this bridge. So you go, another view of the water, looking good. Not too much movement today, hasn't been a huge amount of rain of late. But yeah, just coming back across. So from this point on, so now you're gonna continue a gradual ascent pretty much all the way back until about 1.5–2 k's from Dural, and it flattens out again once you get to the top. Like I mentioned before, coming through this section, when you're still down pretty close to the river, and only a few hundred meters out from Steel Bridge, it just feels like rainforest. It's beautiful. All right, so I've just passed the 9-kilometer mark on the Quarry Road loop. Come up that first climb after Steel Bridge, heading back towards Dural, and now on the flat section. This is a bit where everyone catches their breath, or tries to, because then once we get to the end of this section, then it's a couple of k's of fairly constant climbing over some loose rocks, over quite a bit of that graded concrete. On the way back, I'll stop and take a close-up look at that so you can see what you're dealing with. But this section, as you can see, nice and flat. So use this section when you're out here, catch your breath, taking the view. Perfect day. Perfect day. It's not too hot miraculously. It feels like it should be, but at most it must be low 20s. It's really not too hot at all today, so this is perfect because it can get very, very hot in this area, and there's nowhere for water, extra stuff, basically anything you need you have to carry with you in here, because there's not much at the ends either. It's a several k kind of run either side to get to the first shop. So yeah, just bear that in mind. So 9.4 k's into the loop, and film's never going to give you an appreciation for the gradients, but as you can see, if I just kind of zoom in a bit, it's just a gradual long rocky climb, and there's several kind of fake crests going up. It just kind of feels like it keeps coming for the next couple of k's. Rocky, and then we'll hit those stone sections or concrete sections. So at this point, should be coming to 10.2 k's onto your run, your trail, your hike, and you'll be coming back now to the campground at Tunks Ridge. Just remember, you can go to the right, go up about 100 meters and turn left, but when you see it, just take the left, and this will be the exact same way that you came, heading out. So you'll take the left, only go about 50–60 meters. Here it just gently bends to the right. Campground's in there on your right, point of reference. It's one of the only bits on the way back. I honestly think if you took a wrong turn, this would be it. So that's the reason I'm showing you. So campground remains on your right. This is the track that you need to be on. And then the bit where you'll know, let me just jog up here so you can see it all in one continuous bit in case you get lost. All right, so there's that other access point. If you'd gone the alternate way around the campground, you can just see the signs there. And under us, you're gonna see that ridge concrete. And it's a pretty short but sharp climb. So 10.6 k's into our loop. It's an additional shooting range sign here. I think again, it's just for awareness because there's nowhere in the area where I can actually see red flags up. So I think it's for that awareness. My advice again, always just stick to the main tracks. If anyone was taking safety into account in terms of people on the trail, that'd be the point they would have been assessing from. So if in doubt, stick to the main track, stick to this fire trail. It's pretty easy to follow and you'll be safe, you'll be fine. Okay, so 2.2 k's from the end. You notice that we're back up on the high ground. Again, nice and sandy, a little bit of rock here and there, but sandy and pretty flat. So I think there's one or two little rises to go from memory. But yeah, it's kind of flattened out now. So if you're doing this, is the time where your legs are probably settled down if they're feeling it. And if you weren't already, you might want to start jogging it up towards the end. All right then. 11.5 k's into the loop, goes past another gate. Pretty cool tree. What's left of it. Again, pretty flat now from here. Nice, sandy, pretty well packed fire trail. So you're on your homeward stretch. You got about 1.5 k's to go back to the end of the Quarry Road and the end of the loop. But you're almost there if you're at this point. Sweet, and look at that. What a beautiful day. Okay, trail running adventurers, we are almost done. We're about 12.3 k's through the loop. We're only about less than 700 meters from home. That's the last intersection, sort of fork in the road that you'll see. So just remember, when you see it continue straight, don't take the turn down to Pogston's Trail. Okay, where you see the markers, so don't head that way. You'll head back in. That is a really awesome track down there though. Quite steep. That's the section that's got some steps in it and some stepping stones across the river when the river's not too full. And there's some very, very beautiful territory. But if you're just sticking to the loop, which is what today's all been about, this is it. You've got 600 to go. All right, let's jog out the last bit. After all the climbs in and out of the valley, this last K or so is just a breeze, it's just a dream. Just up here on the sandy flat trail that you started on. So you can have a bit of fun here. Stretch your legs back out before you get back to the car. And whatever you've got waiting for you, hopefully some got a nice treat, at least some water. I've gone through 2 500ml flasks today, so I just finished the second one now, so pretty much exactly what I need to get through here. A little bit extra would never hurt though, and I know there's plenty of people who can certainly do it with less than that. Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed this little tour of Quarry Road. If it's not somewhere you've heard of, or if it's somewhere you have heard of but haven't been sure about what route to take, and that's what's kept you away, I hope this video helps give you the confidence to come out and give it a try. You can hike it, you can walk it, you can run it. You've even seen a family out here with a couple of little kids this morning, so it really is accessible for anyone. So just come down the last little bit. A couple of loose rocks. Let me just jog this down. But yeah, I think this is a great trail. It's so close to so much of Sydney. It's one of those gems that's hidden right under our nose. And the really cool thing is, when you go to this point, where you see the gate. There it is up ahead. Looking at my Garmin, I'm on 12.95 right now. So essentially, when you get back here, depending where you've parked, pretty much come through that gate, and that should bring you right to your 13k mark on the Dural Valley National Park track, better known as Quarry Road. And this is the parking section that I didn't think to show everyone at the start. So have a great day. Hope you've enjoyed the track, enjoy the trails, stay active, stay outdoors. We're very lucky to live in a beautiful country, and just enjoy it. All right, take it easy everyone. Bye for now.